Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Kawasaki Ninja H2R in multiplayer. Now first, I would like to show you the final qualifier of San Diego Harbor, which I did with a tuning of 0500-5050, and yes, I did complete Iceland with this tune. So let's get to it. I believe this was the second time that I played this race, or the third time, I don't remember, but I have a ghost, so it was at least the second time. I have kind of a love-hate relationship with this bike, let's say, and I'll explain more about that throughout the video, but I'm pretty sure you will see a little bit why in this clip. So, its drifting is pretty bad. Its handling is decent, its acceleration is pretty good, and its top speed is, well, pretty phenomenal for its rank, especially since it can get the supercharged boost on top of it. However, the problem is, it is glitchy and very, very difficult to control. You will see this in the races throughout the video. Yeah, that is why there are many problems and stuff, because this bike is basically impossible to tame. At least it was for me. I passed this by a 20th of a second, so I had 0.052 left. That's just 2 frames. Gameloft wanted to make it hard to get this bike, since it is one of the kings of S-Class, if you can learn to tame it, so they definitely succeeded. So then I just had the grand finale left to play, and when I finished it, finally, Kawasaki Ninja H2R is yours to take. And I completely gave up on the championship after this and didn't even bother going for the extra things, and so I finished with what I think is the lowest amount of trophies I've ever gotten in a championship. So now for my very first multiplayer race in this bike. I was excited to try it out, and then that happened. So my races were, let's just say, not so much off to a good start as I had hoped. However, I knew that my speed was pretty good. 297 miles per hour at this rank is quite good. It's about as fast as a similarly ranked R8 e-tron SE. So if you get an R8 e-tron SE on a track with not many ramps, he's probably going to win. However, if you get one with a good amount of ramps, you probably will win. Or if he's not that great of a driver. And in this case, I'm not exactly sure what happened. Maybe he had tuned a lot for acceleration handling or something, because I was quite a good bit faster than him. And he's at a rank of 1491, which, yes, would be going slower than my bike, but not by as much as it seemed like he was going. I don't know. So with full supercharge, this bike can reach 307, 308-ish miles per hour. Now you may be thinking, that's only a 10 miles per hour speed boost from supercharge. I thought this bike had more like a 20 miles per hour boost from supercharge. Well, this is because I did not upgrade nitro at all. Since I only upgraded top speed, tires, and drivetrain, nothing else, no nitro, the supercharged speed stays what it is at stock. The supercharged speed only increases when you add nitro, exhaust, or suspension. Basically any of the things that increase the nitro stat. When the nitro stat is fully maxed out, like the blue bars all the way to the right as far as it can go, then it is 20-something miles per hour. Let's say I was to just max exhaust right now and not do anything with exhaust and suspension. The supercharged speed boost would go up to close to 15-ish miles per hour, maybe slightly less. So that is definitely one thing you've got to keep in mind when tuning bikes. Now, this one is so heavily top speed based that you actually do get a better speed for your rank just doing completely top speed without worrying about nitro, even because of the supercharge. So here we beat this 1491 triple boosted Audi R8 e-tron Special Edition, as well as a couple cars that are not so great. Now this next race is a prime example of what usually seems to happen when you played this car in multiplayer. Because of its great speed and good acceleration, you can usually get ahead of everyone at the beginning, and even the more OP cars you can usually get ahead of and stay ahead of. Say for example, in this race we have an R8 e-tron SE, an M2 SE, and a BMW Homage. And neither of them is catching up all that fast. I'm not sure what that one directly behind me right now is, but he's going about the same speed as me. This was just a one-lap race, and since nobody was catching up fast, I knew that if the bike didn't glitch and if I did not make any mistakes, I would be able to win this. I was a little concerned about the turns at the end of this track, but as it turns out, that's not the only problem I had to deal with. You see, this bike just randomly likes to turn and glitch into the wall and wreck because of that. and that put me back into third position with the two SEs ahead and the homage behind. And then the homage passes me. And then around the turns, it was going fine until my car randomly glitched into the wall again and wrecked for the second time, thus putting me back into fourth place and causing me to lose. You see the problems with this bike, I hope. So often you will be beating a bunch of overpowered cars, and then stuff like just that happens, glitching into the wall, randomly wrecking, other glitches. It's really annoying. This race is a good example of the other thing that often causes you to lose races in this bike, not being able to control it properly. So my speed is approximately the same as that of the Apollo IE up there, meaning that if I can control it right and use supercharge, I should be able to pull ahead. And that is what happens, at least for the first part of the race. I managed to pull ahead around the turn and then go up the ramp. However, since it's hard to control, I could not get through here without bumping into everything, thus causing the Apollo to pass me and forcing me to go onto a long way because of falling off the side, and it all just went downhill from there. Unfortunately, that seems to happen a lot in this bike. Thankfully, the problem is fixed where you get put into cheaterboard for using in multiplayer, but the random glitches and horrible hard to controlness and glitchy wreckiness, oh goodness, are not fixed, and I doubt will be. So in this race, we come in second place, ahead of some MP48 who disconnected, but behind that Apollo, who really is not that far ahead. Now for an interesting race in which, guess what? Nothing actually happens. My bike is stable and doesn't wreck randomly and doesn't glitch randomly. It's a miracle. So at this point, you can probably tell what my feelings about this bike are. Basically, I like it for its speed, but not for everything else. It kind of ends up being like the SLK, where the only good thing about it is its speed, and it has terrible drifting, and yeah, not much else about it is great. It can definitely pull out some wins if it does not glitch or wreck and stuff like that, and it can probably beat some Apollos in that case as well. The problem is, it's rare that it doesn't glitch and wreck. Also guys, I would like to say that if you're watching this video when it came out, I am currently away on vacation and will be inactive in my YouTube comments on the community or on Discord. So if you tag me or message me or something and I do not respond very soon, you know why now. Thankfully, this is a one-lap race, because if it were 2 laps, something would probably happen on the second lap, causing me to lose. But it was not, and thus we are coming in first. Of a Homage and a BMW M2 Special Edition. Let's see what their ranks were. So the M2 was 1514, the Homage was 1593, and we also beat a couple other cars that aren't great. So now for another battle between me and an Apollo IE, as well as a Holden Coupe and an M2 Special Edition, but mainly the Apollo IE, which is at a higher rank of 1607, and so it is going a good bit faster, maybe up to 10 miles per hour faster. As you will see, he begins to catch up. Now, an Apollo with the same tune as me gives approximately the same rank, just higher by a few rank actually, and just faster by a few miles per hour. Unfortunately, if you leave your Kawasaki at this rank, most of the Apollos you find are going to be higher ranked, mostly above 1600, because you could not win the Apollo much below 1600 at all, and it was extremely difficult if you tried. I know 2 people at least did, but yeah, it was very difficult. And if you wanted to win it even lower, around the same rank as this bike, with the same tune as this bike, you would have to auto-pass the final AI, and it probably just wouldn't be worth it, since most of the IEs you would face would, again, be higher ranked, just like what is happening in this race. So most people did not do that. As you can see in this race, the Kawasaki Ninja is keeping up pretty well with this Apollo. See, Gameloft pretty much ruined this bike by giving it the crazy glitchiness, because there are some races where you can see pretty much its full potential, like beating Homages and M2 Special Editions by a lot, and being able to keep up pretty well with Apollo IEs, and possibly beating them if you don't run into any problems. So yeah, it is very unfortunate that Gameloft did to this bike what they did. Now, I don't think there's anything in the bike's code that specifically makes it glitchy. I really don't see Gameloft doing that, but surely there is some way they could fix the bike just randomly turning and wrecking into a wall. So here we've lost to this Apollo IE, but not by much, only by about 1 second, even on 2 laps Alps, and we did beat an M2 Special Edition, a Holden Coupe, and a normal M2. So this race is a very good example of what happens when this bike glitches a lot, and why you should always choose 1 lap if you're driving this bike in multiplayer. Because if you get a 2-lap race, more often than not, your bike will be fine on the first lap, but on the second lap, something will go terribly wrong and you'll probably lose because of it. That happens in this race, as you will see, and it is a little bit cringeworthy. And of course, this crazy glitch that happens here, like, seriously, what caused the bike to do that? So our competition in this race isn't much. We have an unboosted M2 Special Edition, as well as a triple boosted Max Pro Sesto Elemento, which is the car right behind us. Now that car is like 130 or something rank above, so this was extremely bad matchmaking, but still, this bike is faster by a good 20 or so miles per hour without supercharge. Hey, that was a nice backflip. And 30 miles per hour or so with supercharge. So obviously, this bike should be able to beat this Sesto Elemento. And on the first lap, certainly, it is. There's nothing that caused me to wreck randomly, or skid, or glitch into a wall. Can bikes even skid? I don't know. I was actually surprised that this ended up being a 2-lap race, because when it started, I thought it was 1 lap, but it didn't end up being that way. So even with these 0 handling upgrades, the car drifts well enough to get around most turns okay. I mean, not as sharp as you might like. And then this happened. I went off, exited the circuit, because the bike randomly turned a little bit to the right, and then of course I randomly wrecked when I just touched the wall slightly, and even that I figured was probably not enough to allow him to beat me, but then as I was going along, starting supercharged, the bike just randomly flipped over and exploded. That's like 3 wrecks that should not have happened in, like, 10 seconds. So obviously, there is something wrong with an S-Class King kind of bike if a Sesto Elemento can beat it. But then of course, other times, I can easily beat M2 SEs and Audi R8 SEs and homages. So the problem with this bike, mainly, is that it is inconsistent. That's what it really boils down to. Some races are great, some races are horrible. You rarely get one that's just okay because the bike either does quite well and you speed past everybody because, well, it's really fast, or you randomly glitch and wreck and lose to a bunch of noob cars. Yes, I did lose to a Max Pro Sesto Elemento. This was kind of an embarrassing race, but it was the bike's fault. Now for our final race, which is on San Diego Harbor against, well, a bunch of noob cars. And I probably wouldn't have even put it in the video, but for something that happened near the end of the race. You will see. So I guess here is my general review of the bike. It has very good speed, but pretty bad everything else, meaning that if you can learn to control it, it will do quite well in a lot of races, and if you upgrade handling and stuff like that, I mean, you'll be able to get around the turns pretty fine. However, the problem comes in with the random glitches and explosions and stuff that you saw in this video that can cause you to lose to even the worst of cars. So I would not recommend using this bike in ticket races unless you are extremely confident that your bike will not glitch, or you're in a lower league where you would not take too much of a rating hit if you did lose to one of the noob cars by freak glitches like what happened in that Nevada race. However, if you can learn to control it and don't glitch, it is a decently fun vehicle to drive, and I will tell you this, if you manage to tame this bike, you can tame any vehicle in Asphalt 8, because this is basically the pinnacle of difficulty to learn to drive properly. As you can see now, since I've played this bike so many times on San Diego Harbor in multiplayer and in the championship, I've now gotten pretty used to it and can drive it fairly well without too much of a problem. So at this point in the race is where the interesting thing happens. I begin to lap somebody. So I'm not exactly sure what he's doing, but San Diego Harbor seems to be a bit of a difficult track for noobs, so that may be one reason. And then guess what? I catch up to somebody else and manage to lap him as well. This is the first time I have ever lapped 2 people in one multiplayer race. There really should be some kind of achievement or something for lapping somebody in multiplayer, but I really don't think there is. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 content, and I will see you later. Goodbye.